The illusion of self. Are you who you think you are? Hello, Mind Explorers. Today we dive into one of the deepest yet most everyday questions. The illusion of self. Does a fixed identity exist? This question is not just philosophical. It affects every decision, every emotion, and every interaction we have. It's so fundamental that if we don't analyze it thoroughly, we miss the opportunity to understand something essential about ourselves. Get ready for a deep dive, because by the end of this video, your understanding of who you are will be completely new. To begin this level 1, the basic knowledge: we all have a name, a personal history, a defined personality. We believe that we are the sum of our experiences, memories, and traits. A second obvious aspect is how we act differently depending on the context. We are different with our friends, our family, at work. These are like roles or facets of the same self that we use to interact with the world. Since time immemorial, the idea of a constant self, of who I am, has helped us remember what we learned, keep commitments, and function in society. It's an evolutionary basis for our survival and cohesion. We feel an uninterrupted continuity. The person who woke up today is without a doubt the same person who went to bed last night. This sense of permanence is so strong that we take it for granted. But why do we assume we are the same person as yesterday? These basic concepts are the surface of our identity. They are the starting point, but the journey has only just begun. There's much more beneath. But to understand the why of these facts, we must look beneath the surface. Welcome to Level 2, Hidden Mechanisms. Our brain doesn't store memories like a movie, but reconstructs them every time we bring them to mind. We are constantly editing and weaving a coherent narrative of who we are, and this narrative is our self. Our identity is co-created through social interaction. We mirror the expectations and reactions of others. The invisible rule here is that our self is validated and shaped by the gaze and feedback of others, like a living mirror. Confirmation bias plays a key role. We tend to seek and remember information that supports the idea we already have of ourselves, ignoring what contradicts it. It's a brain mechanism to maintain the coherence of our self-image. In many ancestral cultures, identity was not an individual choice, but a role assigned by the tribe, clan, or initiation rites. The self was forged in the collective, in contrast to the modern idea of an autonomous self. Having an apparently stable self gives us a sense of control, of agency. It allows us to plan the future, assume responsibilities, and feel in control of our decisions. It satisfies our fundamental need for predictability and autonomy. Thus, the self is not a fixed object, but a dynamic process, a construction in constant flux. Although our mind gives us the illusion of permanence, the reality is that it constantly changes, redefining the facts of Level 1. Understanding these hidden gears reveals that identity is more a verb than a noun, a work in constant remodeling that is never fully finished. But reality is never so orderly. This is where the story gets complicated. It's time to descend to Level 3, complexities and debates. If our self is a cerebral and social narrative, where does free will stand? Are we truly agents of our decisions or mere puppets of our brains and environments? This is a central debate in philosophy and neuroscience. The myth of finding your true self is seductive but misleading. It implies there's a hidden self waiting to be discovered. The truth is, we are constantly building it. We long for this idea because it gives us a false sense of fixed destiny or purpose. The paradox of Theseus' ship perfectly applies to the self. If every cell in our body renews and our memories and ideas change, are we still the same person? Where does identity reside if everything transforms? It's a dizzying philosophical dilemma. Society imposes a mold for the self on us. Be successful, fit in, be this or that. This pressure to conform to prefabricated identities can lead to a repression of individual authenticity and result in mental health issues. Historically, identity shifted from being predominantly collective, defined by lineage, guild, faith, to being individualistic in modernity. This brought freedom, but also the burden of creating one's own self, something that was not a concern before. This fluid and constantly changing nature of the self can generate deep existential anxiety. Who am I really if I can change? How do I maintain a sense of coherence and purpose in a world that demands constant adaptation? The self is not a simple answer, but an endless conversation, intrinsically full of debates, nuances, and difficult questions without a single definitive answer. Now, it's time to see the details that separate the curious from the true connoisseurs. Let's ascend to Level 4, niche knowledge. The brain functions as a predictive machine, constantly generating hypotheses about the world and about who I am. The self is the most persistent and refined hypothesis that the brain creates about its own functioning and its relationship with the environment, something that popular culture usually doesn't address. There's a brain network called the default mode network, DMN. Imagine it's like your brain's headquarters that never closes, always organizing and planning your self-narrative, even when you're not doing anything particular. It's active when you think about yourself, your past, your future. The philosopher and neuroscientist Thomas Metzinger has argued that the self is not an entity, but an ego tunnel, a representational model that the brain creates of itself to interact with the world. It's an interface, not a thing, an idea little known outside academic circles. The theory of enactivism postulates that the self is not just within the brain, but emerges from the constant and reciprocal interaction between our body, mind, and environment. We are not just a brain in a vat, but an active being that is shaped by every experience. Studies with split-brain patients, when the hemispheres are separated, show that they can operate with two separate consciousnesses, or wills, with one hemisphere having no access to the reasons of the other. This is a counterintuitive detail that suggests the unitary self is a construction. The narrative self we construct is not only based on our individual experiences, but also absorbs and reproduces the dominant cultural narratives of our society. The stories we tell ourselves are, in part, the stories the world has told us, thus connecting the personal with the social and historical. This level of detail reveals that the self is a masterpiece of biological and social engineering, far more intricate and fascinating than we ever imagined, and understanding it this way gives us a much more authentic comprehension. And what lies beyond what we know? Let's enter the last frontier, level 5, frontiers and speculation. In the future, could we upload our consciousness to the cloud or to a digital medium? Would a digital immaterial self exist, or is our identity inseparable from biology and corporeal experience? Is consciousness possible without a self? Or does the experience of being inherently require a center, a perspective, however illusory it may be? This is a fundamental question that science and philosophy cannot yet answer. Is the dissolution of the self, the famous ego death in some mystical or psychedelic practices, madness, or the door to a deeper understanding of reality, where the separation between self and world vanishes into a dizzying unity? If we understand that our self is a fluid and changing construct, could we transcend artificial divisions between individuals and groups, fostering global empathy and true human cooperation for our collective destiny? Perhaps the self is merely the most elaborate, beautiful, and useful hallucination our brain has designed to navigate the complexity of the universe. We have reached the end of our descent through the 5 levels of knowledge about identity. It's time to gain perspective to see the complete picture. We began this journey believing that our self was simply our name, our personal history, a solid and fixed entity. Now, we have explored the possibility that it is a sophisticated cerebral construct, a fluid narrative, and even the most useful and profound of our hallucinations. Your understanding of the self has gone from the obvious to the astonishing, revealing the intricate beauty of your own existence. After this journey, tell me, which part of this profound exploration of the illusion of self changed your perspective on who you are the most? Leave your answer in the comments. I'd love to read it and see how this topic resonates with you. If you dared to descend with us and enjoyed this immersion, give it a like, share this video with those you think should also see it, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next explorations. Until next time, Mind Explorers,